We're here to talk about accounting, New Year prep steps. Before we get started on that, a few technical things. Again, welcome to everyone for joining us here today. We're in the month of December, our kind of end-of-year month where we kind of focus on much of our end-of-year processes and portions in Church Windows, and today simply happens to be accounting's turn. Before we get started, if you click the little red arrow on the sidebar of your webinar control panel, it will allow you to minimize that control panel, get it out of the way. This is particularly important if you're using a single monitor, or if you've got a dual monitor setup, just drag that off to the second desktop. Again, it allows you to get the full visual effect of the presentation. I hope everyone can hear me okay. My audio appears to be coming through loud and clear to me. I don't know if you would be having audio problems. We are recording today's event. So the video, well, we have one from a couple of years ago that's out on the website right now, but we've decided that this year we're going to update this. But this event will be out on the New Year Prep and Help page sometime within the next 24 to 48 hours, if not sooner, maybe even later today. So if you'd like to revisit that. There are also a couple of handouts attached to this webinar as well. So if you click on the little plus sign or the arrow next to your handouts, you'll be able to access those PDF files. I'm using the New Year Prep and Help New Year Prep, Accounting New Year Prep document as the guideline for my printed material today. The other one is about the clearing or dealing with unpaid or outstanding bills. Now, we're not going to go into that in the complete detail today. There simply isn't enough time, but we do want to have some resources available to you that should you go to, quick pay, view outstanding bills, there's some things in there that you'll need to deal with. That document should help enormously. So if you have questions, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I will do my best to keep an eye on that, and I've got folks here that will try to answer the questions for you. However, if they're unable to do that, I'll review those at the end, and I'll be happy to try to get those answered for you. Please keep the questions on our accounting end-of-year topic here today, okay? We're here to talk about accounting end of year, not other portions of Church Windows. I'm not equipped to answer other questions for you about that, okay? So let's see, am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. So without waiting any longer, let's go ahead and talk about here the first page on our accounting end of year instructions, opening a new year. So one of the first and foremost important things is, well, as we clearly see in my Church Windows here, let me get up my highlighter here and show you here, yes, we're still showing that we're in January through December 2020. That's fine. Of course, we're not done with the 2020 year yet, but it's important to understand, and we cannot stress this enough, is you can work between two different accounting years for as long as you need or want. So what we're basically stating by that is, don't think about having to be finished with 2020 so much as opening to prepare for 2021, okay? When I put on my technician's hat, I can let you know that I've walked through dozens of folks who are opening their 2021 year already, okay? We've had folks that have had 2021 open since, early fall or earlier than that because they know that they can, okay? They're not finished with 2020. They're just opening 2021 so they can rework their chart of accounts and enter their budget figures and fix things, basically prepare for 2021 without having to feel like they're rushed. They know they don't have to be done with 2020 in order to do that. So that's the first thing on that page is you decide when you open your accounting year, okay? We recommend doing it as soon as humanly possible. Okay, there's no need to wait to be done with 2020 in order to open 2021, okay? You can still work between the 2 years as long as you need or want. Second on that, the Church Windows retains all of the previous year's accounting information, so opening 2021 does not limit you from going back and working in 2020 or going back and running reports or making changes or anything else, okay? Now, when we go down to the little asterisk section there, the italicized portion on page 1 of our document, it talks about going into pay bills, quick pay, and right here, view outstanding bills, okay? Please, please check this, okay? It's really important that you look at this, and certainly if you're going to be considering using the hard close function that we're going to talk about here momentarily, but basically you want to make sure that anything that's showing up here under view outstanding bills, well, and perhaps view vendors with a balance, frankly, are dealt with. I mean, it's fine to carry things forward as long as you know that you want to do that, but if they're not here, they shouldn't be here. You need to resolve why that is, okay? We need to figure that out before we start working in there. And again, definitely before you use the close year function in accounting, should you choose to do that, okay? Also, we recommend, you can add new accounts into the new year, but just keep in mind you can always add accounts in the old year too, and then enter balances and bring those forward into the, into the new year too. So it may be just something you consider is any new accounts that you're considering adding in 2021, depending on what, like particularly if they're balance sheet accounts, you may want to get those onto your books in 2020. Okay, it's your choice. You don't have to. There's no requirement, but you may want to do that if you wish. Okay, so let's jump on to page 2 here and talk about actually opening the new year. Okay, we're going to close out of here. The document on the, sorry, let me go back a little bit here. The document that we've attached on dealing with outstanding or outstanding bills listed deals with, this quick pay and view outstanding bills list. If you have questions about that after reviewing that and you're unclear about what to do, give us a holler at support. We're certainly happy to help with that. Okay, so now opening the actual new year. So step 1 there talks about on page 2 of our document, talks about making a backup of your data. We would back up the data by simply going here to administration and backup and make a backup of your data, okay? That doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a cloud user or local desktop user or network user, anyone can make a backup of their data. It may be just advisable that you do make a backup of your accounting data before you open your new year. So now, to physically open the new year, we're going to go up to, and this is very simple, folks, special functions, manage years, and right here, second option down that says set up new accounting year. So we click on that. It pops up with a dialog box and asks, do I want to set up a new year, accounting year? We're going to say yes. We click on that. There's a few things here we have to pay attention to, but first of all, the first thing is by default, it's automatically going to want to create the next accounting year for January through December 2021. You can go back and create a prior accounting year if you wish, but we're here to set up the new year. Also, it's going to want to copy forward your chart of accounts from, in this case, 2020 and the subsequent budget amounts, okay? I recommend copying the budget amounts because unless all of your budgets are changing, if a percentage of the accounts, income and expense budgets are changing and some are not, you saved yourself time and effort by copying that budget forward. It'll just bring forward the budget from the prior year, okay, for in this case 2020 into 2021. I can always go in and change them and amend them or remove them if I wish, but copying the chart of budget forward might just save you some time. Is also if things are super dire and you're not happy with your chart of accounts and where the books are, you can also ask the software to set up a new empty chart of accounts to start the new year if you wish. But we're not here to do that. We're here to bring forward our current year's chart of accounts into the new year. So we're going to leave the copy chart of accounts and budget amounts for 2021. We click OK. It does its little gyrations, and now we see here at our opening window that we're now showing that we're in January through December 2021. Okay, so essentially the new year is now open. All right, so that year is there. I can now toggle back and forth anytime I want. Note in the middle there, page 2. This is going to be reiterated later on in the document as well. Is you must remember to update your beginning balances from 2020, from the old year to the new year, with whatever frequency you want, okay? So I'm now in 2021. I'm going to go ahead and update the beginning balances right now by going to Special Functions, Manage Years, update beginning balances from prior year, accounting year ending balances. It says, are you sure you want to update 21 from 20? We're going to click Yes. It's now brought forward, now that the balances are updated successfully, it has now brought forward the balances from my 2020 balance sheet as they are today, okay? Of course, my balance sheet's going to continue to change between now and the end of December and maybe even into January. I can update those beginning balances as many times as I need or want, but you simply need to be aware that this function is a user-driven function. The Church Windows doesn't bring forward the balances on its own, okay? You have to remember to do that, okay? It's one of the most common support calls we get in January is folks who have not updated their beginning balances, okay? So, you can update them daily, weekly, monthly, or one final time when you're done with the prior year. You just have to remember to do it, okay? Okay, we'll come back to that one as well. Closing the year at the middle of page 2. We have a hard close function. When I go to special functions, manage years, there's an option here that says close accounting year prevents further changes. Folks, there's no requirement in the software to use this. If you prefer to use the hard close function, by all means, you may do it, okay? But there's no requirement in Church Windows or accounting to use this at all, okay? It is simply there should you choose to do it, okay? So, if I want to choose that, I choose close an accounting year. It says, warning, so you got to pay attention to this. There's no way to reopen a closed year if it's closed, okay? Simply no option for doing that, all right? So you can close the year at any time, whether it's, middle of January, June of next year, or never. It's your choice, okay? So we're not going to do this, but if I wanted to go back and close any of my other prior accounting years that are not already closed, I could certainly do that, or not at all. Your choice. Just don't do it too early, folks. Again, it cannot be reopened. Bottom of page 2 there, additional accounting information, new budget figures for income and expenses. Now that my 2021 year is open, I can now go up to budgets and budget, and now I can come into my budget window and I can now key in or enter or edit my current existing or my budget figures to prepare for the new year. And again, when you copied the chart of accounts forward, it says into the new year, if you kept the check mark in the copied budget amounts, these same accounts will be checked and the budget amounts will be brought forward. I can just simply click on an account and I can just amend the budgets as I wish, as I need, or I can simply put a check mark in something that isn't budgeted, and then I can simply go ahead and key in the desired budget amount, okay? We've got videos on the website about entering in the budget and working with the budget and Church Windows accounting as well, okay? So basically at the top of page 3, it talks about accessing that budget screen in accounting there, and just simply by checking the boxes and entering the budget amounts. It's not terribly challenging, okay? But by all means, you have to have the new year open if you want to enter that new year's budget. There is a function in Church Windows accounting called budget projection. Once I have 2021 open, I can now go up to budgets and use this function called budget projection, and it will allow me, and it gives me an exclusive access message. I click OK on that. It's now loading my budget amounts. So basically, it allows me to calculate for 2021 based on either increase or decreases based on the prior year's either budget or actual income or expense totals. There's no requirement, again, to use this, folks. It's just that if you go, oh, well, based on our, 2020 activity, we're going to decrease our income budget by a percentage of last year's budget amounts. We're going to say we're going to decrease it by 5%, and we're going to increase our last year, our budget by, 2% of last year's budget amount. And I can simply click View Projection, and it puts those projected budget amounts in, projected budget in it. If I want it, I just click Save and Close, and I've saved that budget. Again, a commonly overlooked function, folks, but it's important that you're aware that it is there. But there's no requirement to use it, but we think we're certainly worth looking at, if you want to have the software developed. But again, it's an across-the-board increase or decrease percentage of all the budgeted income or expense accounts that you check as budgeted, okay? Again, something that you can play with and explore. Call us if you have questions about it. We're not going to save that. So now, when I'm wanting to work between the old and the new accounting years, all I do now is I go back up to Special Functions, Manage Years, change to another existing accounting year. It now chooses 2020 for me. Or if it's not, I just choose it, but it should populate it automatically. I click OK. My opening window now here goes back to January 2020. I'm now ready to work back in the current year now, in 2020. I can still work back and forth. Again, very flexible in the software. Okay. Again, note at the bottom of page 3 there, here's our reminding ourselves about our updating of our beginning balances. Okay. All it does, folks, is bring forward the balance sheet totals that it sees at the time you do it from the end of the year you're bringing forward into the new year. You can run this function as many times as you need or want, okay? There's no restriction on how many times you update your beginning balances. It's worse if you don't, okay? It's more problematic if you don't update the beginning balances than if you do, okay? So to check those beginning balances, we would simply go up to Reports, Financial, Balance Sheet. So here I am in 2020. I'm going to run that as of, say, December, click Print. We now see our end-of-year totals on our balance sheet are, let's see, total assets are $1,660,000. When I close out and I change my accounting year on my balance sheet to January 2020, and I add my beginning balance column, and I click Print, I should now see $1,660,762 in my beginning balance column. I now know I've updated my beginning balances. Okay? If you check those two balance sheets, they're a second apart, folks, and they don't have the same balances. You have not updated your beginning balances one final time, and you need to do that. Okay? Finally, again, if you want to, say, add or change accounts, you can do that. You can change account numbers and account names in church windows at any time, okay? But basically, if you want to enter or change a few accounts, you can go to Manage Accounts. We can go to the Tree View tab. We can go down here and let's say find, a particular income or an expense account. Let me scroll down and find one that way. Right here, wedding income. If I go to my Tree View, that account is highlighted. I right-click and choose Edit. It allows me to edit the name or the number right here on our Tree View. However, if I want to make some broad sweeping changes to my chart of accounts, I may need to go up to Special Functions here, use this option or feature called Change Account Number Structure. This is where I would go through and make a sweeping change to a lot of accounts at one time. Again, it warns me of exclusive access. I can change my entire account number structure, length of my accounts. I can edit account numbers here and simply click Save. Okay? Note, finally, at 20 minutes after, we're getting kind of close here on this. It might be going a minute long here, folks, is note at the bottom of page 4 in our document, editing or deleting an account or changing the account structure in, let's say, 2020 or 2021 does not affect those same accounts in any other accounting year. Okay, very important. So each year's chart of accounts is different and separate. So if I make a change to accounts in, say, 2021, it's not affecting those accounts in the same manner in 2020, okay? And vice versa. So if I change account numbers and names in 2020, it's not going to bring those forward into 2021. You may have to change accounts in both years. But just be aware, again, changes to one year's chart of accounts does not affect the others, okay? So finally, on our balance sheet report, that's the report that you want to use to check your ending year prior balances for the prior year, compare those to the beginning balances column on your New Year's balance sheet to verify that the beginning balances have been updated one final time. Okay? Where that shows up, folks, I can tell you with from just experience of doing this almost 20 years that where that beginning balance issue shows up most commonly is when you attempt to reconcile your bank statement for January 2021 for the first time. You reconciled December to 0. Now January is not reconciling. I'll virtually guarantee you 90% of the time the problem is beginning balances have not been updated. Okay? So that is, in 22 minutes, our topic for today.